Have you ever reached for a handful of nuts thinking you were making a smart choice for your heart or your brain? What if that very habit was silently pushing you closer to kidney failure? For millions of Americans living with high creatinine or the early stages of chronic kidney disease, this isn't just a casual question, it's a life-changing warning. Because what feels like a healthy snack can actually overload your kidneys with phosphorus, potassium, and hidden toxins. That burden drives your filtration rate down and pulls you closer to dialysis faster than you ever imagined. The truth is chilling. Every bite can be the difference between protecting your health or slowly destroying it without even knowing. But here's the hope you've been waiting for. Not all nuts are enemies. In fact, 4 of them are powerful allies when used the right way, calming inflammation, lowering creatinine, and protecting your GFR. At the same time, 4 other nuts, often praised as superfoods, are quietly sabotaging kidney health every single day. My name is Dr. Johnny, and in this video, I'm going to reveal the exact nuts you must avoid if you care about your kidneys and the ones you should eat daily to give your body a real chance to heal. This isn't guesswork or internet myths. It's science, patient stories, and decades of kidney care distilled into clear steps you can start tonight. So stay with me until the very end, because what you discover here may decide whether you protect your kidneys for years to come or face dialysis sooner than you ever thought possible. When most people think of walnuts, they think brain food. But what if I told you these ordinary little shells can either protect your kidneys or quietly push you toward dialysis? I once had a patient, Mrs. Harris, 64 years old. Every night she'd snack on a small bowl of walnuts because she read they were good for memory. What she didn't realize was that walnuts were silently calming the fire of kidney inflammation that had been raising her creatinine levels for years. Here's the science. Just 1 ounce of walnuts gives you nearly 2.5 grams of plant-based omega-3s. Not just heart-healthy fats, these are kidney protectors. They cool inflammation in the nephrons, keeping your GFR from slipping under that dreaded line of 60 milliliters per minute. Each ounce also carries around 45 milligrams of magnesium. That relaxes blood vessels, lowers pressure on fragile kidney filters, and helps prevent albumin from leaking into the urine. When that albumin to creatinine ratio climbs above 30, it's the flashing red light of kidney decline, and the benefits don't stop there. Walnuts pack 2 grams of fiber per ounce, lowering LDL cholesterol and sweeping out toxins that would otherwise pile up and stress your kidneys. They're loaded with antioxidants, ellagic acid, polyphenols, vitamin E, all acting like bodyguards to shield delicate tissue from oxidative scarring. But here's the catch. 1 ounce also contains about 98 milligrams of phosphorus and 125 milligrams of potassium. For healthy people, that's fine. But if your blood phosphorus rises above 5.5 or your potassium sneaks over 5.2, the risks skyrocket, weakening bones, hardening arteries, even dangerous heart rhythms. So what's the safe way? 3 to 4 raw, unsalted walnuts a day. Soak them overnight in room temperature water to reduce anti-nutrients. Skip the roasted or candied versions. Roasting above 350 degrees destroys the omega-3s, and sugar or salt just adds another burden for your kidneys. Used wisely, walnuts are a shield. Used carelessly, they can be a silent killer sitting in your snack bowl. But just knowing this isn't enough, because the next nut looks soft, buttery, almost harmless, yet hides a code that can either heal your kidneys or quietly suffocate them. Macadamias look innocent, soft, buttery, even luxurious. But don't be fooled, this nut carries a double edge that can either lighten your kidney's load or secretly choke it. Take Robert, one of my patients, age 70. He swapped his afternoon chips for macadamia cookies, thinking he'd made a safer choice. What shocked him was that his new habit was stacking the odds against his kidneys without him realizing. Here's why. 100 grams of macadamias pack nearly 718 calories, an energy bomb that can push weight and insulin resistance higher if you lose control. But hidden in those calories is their secret weapon. Out of 76 grams of fat, nearly 58 are monounsaturated. The very same fat that makes olive oil protective for your heart also shields your kidneys. It keeps blood flowing smoothly through your nephrons, helping creatinine stay stable. Protein. Only about 8 grams per 100 grams, much lower than peanuts or almonds. That means less nitrogen waste, less urea, and less pressure on overworked kidneys. The minerals tell another story. Phosphorus comes in around 188 milligrams per 100 grams, far lower than the overload you'd face with almonds. Potassium, about 368 milligrams, safer than cashews, and less likely to push levels into the deadly 6.0 zone that sparks cardiac arrest. Magnesium, around 130 milligrams, helps relax vessels and stabilize blood pressure. Even selenium makes an appearance, 3.6 micrograms, enough to support thyroid and kidney metabolism without tipping into toxicity like Brazil nuts. So how do you use them? The sweet spot is one handful, around 30 grams a day. Choose raw or dry roasted unsalted and chew slowly with water to help flush waste. Skip the honey roasted or salted versions. They sneak in sodium and sugar that lead to swelling proteinuria and creatinine spikes. Respect the macadamia and it will respect your kidneys. Ignore portion control and it becomes a silent suffocation you won't notice until lab results arrive too late. And yet macadamias aren't the full story, because the next nut doesn't just protect, it fights for you. In silence, a hidden warrior that few people ever talk about. Pecans don't shout for attention. They look sweet, gentle, even harmless. But inside, they're hidden warriors quietly protecting your kidneys when you least expect it. I remember Charles, 68 years old. He switched from peanuts to pecans simply because he liked their softer flavor. What he didn't realize was that this small change was lowering his creatinine and giving his kidneys a second chance. Here's what makes them special. Over 70 grams of monounsaturated fat in every 100 grams. That's the kind of fat that melts away inflammation around kidney tissue and keeps blood vessels flexible. When vessels stay elastic, your GFR holds steady, slowing the march toward dialysis. Their mineral profile is just as important. Magnesium sits at about 121 milligrams per 100 grams, quietly relaxing vessels and helping stabilize creatinine and urea ratios. Phosphorus, 277 milligrams, is moderate enough not to overwhelm your kidneys when you eat controlled portions. Potassium, around 410 milligrams, balanced enough to support electrolytes, but not high enough to push most patients into danger. And pecans are antioxidant powerhouses. Vitamin E, about 1.4 milligrams per 100 grams, plus zinc at 4.5 milligrams. Together, they fight oxidative stress, detoxify kidney tissue, and strengthen your immune defenses. When your immune system is strong, infections are less likely to send creatinine spiking out of control. Even trace minerals like copper and selenium add extra shields for enzyme pathways that clear waste. So how do you use them? 20 to 25 grams daily is the safe zone, enough to help, not enough to harm. Eat them raw, chopped into oatmeal, or paired with low potassium fruit. Skip the salted, sugar-coated, or heavily roasted versions. High heat destroys delicate fats and flips a healer into a hazard. Used wisely, pecans are not just a snack. They're a daily medicine disguised as food. But don't get too comfortable, because the next nut looks delicate, tiny, almost like a garnish. And yet it hides a mineral load that can either strengthen your kidneys or tip them into crisis if you're not careful. Pine nuts look tiny, almost fragile. Most people sprinkle them on salads as if they don't matter. But don't be fooled, these little seeds carry more power for your kidneys than you think. Linda, 71 years old, once told me she treated pine nuts like decoration. A garnish, nothing more. What surprised her most was that the very food she ignored was quietly protecting her kidneys better than the superfoods she spent money chasing. Here's the science. Pine nuts are rich in polyunsaturated fats, about 68 grams per 100 grams. These fats reduce chronic inflammation and improve microcirculation deep inside the kidneys. Better blood flow means a steadier GFR, and that translates into kidneys that last longer. Their mineral profile is extraordinary. Magnesium at 251 milligrams per 100 grams acts like a shield for kidney cells, keeping creatinine and urea ratios in balance. Vitamin E, around 9 milligrams, provides antioxidant firepower that guards against scarring. They also supply iron, zinc, copper, and manganese trace minerals that help enzymes detoxify your system and protect fragile kidney tissue. But here's the catch. Phosphorus is high, about 575 milligrams. Potassium, too, around 597 milligrams. Both can be dangerous if you lose track of portions. Too much and you tip the scale into rising creatinine, bone loss, and even cardiac risk. So what's the safe zone? About 25 to 30 grams a day raw, or lightly toasted below 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Go higher and you risk turning protection into poison. Go salted or sugar-coated and you sabotage every benefit with sodium and additives. Pine nuts prove that even the smallest foods can carry the heaviest weight when it comes to kidney health. But now the story takes a sharp turn because while these 4 nuts can heal, the next group may quietly destroy everything you've worked to save. And the first one might shock you because it's often marketed as the healthiest nut of all. Almonds. They're sold everywhere as the ultimate health snack. For the heart, for the brain, even for weight loss. But if you have kidney disease, almonds may be one of the most dangerous choices you can make. I'll never forget Patricia, 62 years old. She proudly told me she ate a handful of almonds every day, believing they were keeping her heart strong. But her lab results told a different story. Her creatinine was climbing. Her phosphorus was out of control. What she thought was a safe daily habit was quietly speeding up her kidney decline. Here's why. Just 1 ounce, barely a small handful, contains about 484 milligrams of phosphorus. For someone with healthy kidneys, that may not matter, but for anyone with CKD, that amount can overwhelm already fragile filtration, raising creatinine and disrupting the delicate balance of urea and creatinine ratios. Potassium is another silent trap, about 208 milligrams per ounce. For a compromised kidney, even that moderate dose can trigger hyperkalemia, fluid retention, irregular heartbeats, and dangerous spikes in creatinine. And it doesn't stop there. Almonds carry oxalates around 122 milligrams per ounce. These can form kidney stones, cutting and scarring renal tissue, driving your GFR lower and lower. Add about 6 grams of protein per ounce, and you're stacking more nitrogen waste onto kidneys already struggling to cope. The danger isn't only in the numbers. Most people don't eat raw almonds. They eat them roasted, salted, or candied, loaded with sodium and sugar that spike blood pressure, worsen swelling, and damage those delicate kidney filters. Patricia thought she was making the right choice. But in CKD, normal can be toxic. And that's the hidden risk. What's safe for one person can silently sabotage another. So if your kidneys are already vulnerable, almonds should be avoided unless your doctor closely supervises every bite. But here's the part you need to hear. Almonds aren't the only so-called healthy nut that can harm your kidneys. The next one is even smoother, creamier, and more deceptive because it hides a mineral profile that can quietly push you closer to dialysis if you're not careful. Cashews. Creamy, smooth, delicious. They feel safer than chips, safer than candy. But for weak kidneys, they can be a silent trap. George, 69 years old, loved cashews so much he carried a jar in his car. "Doctor, he told me they're better than junk food, right?" What he didn't realize was that every handful was stacking pressure onto his kidneys, like adding weights to an already cracking beam. Here's the science. A single ounce, just 28 grams, delivers around 168 milligrams of phosphorus. Enough to push fragile kidneys into overload, raising creatinine and disturbing the urea to creatinine ratio. Potassium is another hidden threat, about 187 milligrams per ounce. For someone with compromised filtration, that can push blood potassium dangerously close to the 6-point zone, where sudden heart rhythm collapse becomes a real risk. And then come the oxalates, about 49 milligrams per ounce, crystallizing inside the kidneys, forming stones that scar delicate tissue and lower GFR. Add roughly 5 grams of protein, and you've given damaged kidneys even more nitrogen waste to process. Even the good minerals, magnesium and calcium, become dangerous in CKD when the body can't clear them properly. And let's be honest, most cashews aren't eaten raw. They're roasted, salted, or sugar-coated, sneaking in sodium and additives that spike blood pressure and worsen swelling. George thought he was making a better choice than chips, but for his kidneys, cashews were just another hidden enemy in disguise. That's why for CKD patients, the safest move is to treat cashews as a rare indulgence, or better yet, avoid them altogether. But cashews aren't even the biggest threat, because there's one nut out there praised as a superfood that carries a toxic load so extreme it can push creatinine through the roof and accelerate kidney failure faster than almost anything else. Brazil nuts. They look harmless. They're often praised as nutrient-packed superfoods. But for people with kidney disease, they can be one of the most dangerous choices on the plate. Evelyn, a retired teacher, age 70, ate just 2 Brazil nuts every morning. She read online they were rich in selenium and great for immunity. She thought she was protecting her health. What she didn't know was that those 2 little nuts were quietly pushing her kidneys closer to crisis. Let's break it down. 1 ounce, about 6 Brazil nuts, delivers around 191 milligrams of phosphorus and 187 milligrams of potassium. For someone with healthy kidneys, that might slide under the radar. But in CKD, those minerals stack up like silent bricks, raising creatinine, disturbing urea balance, and dragging GFR lower and lower. But the real killer isn't phosphorus or potassium, it's selenium. That same ounce delivers nearly 544 micrograms, almost 10 times the recommended daily intake. In tiny doses, selenium supports enzymes and metabolism. But in excess, it turns toxic, damaging pathways, interfering with creatinine clearance and accelerating kidney decline in ways most patients never see until it's too late. Add about 4 grams of protein per ounce, and you've got more nitrogen waste for struggling kidneys to process. Even magnesium and calcium, normally helpful, can accumulate dangerously when clearance is impaired. And most Brazil nuts aren't eaten plain. They're roasted and salted, sneaking in sodium that spikes blood pressure and worsens swelling. That's why for anyone with kidney disease, the safest strategy is simple: avoid Brazil nuts completely. Unlike walnuts or pecans, where portion control gives benefits, these nuts don't leave room for error. A few bites might bring antioxidants, but the overload is far too risky. And don't think you're safe yet, because there's still one more nut, cheap common, sitting in nearly every American pantry that can quietly sabotage your kidneys day after day if you're not careful. Peanuts. They're everywhere. Cheap, common, and sitting in almost every American kitchen. Most people think they're harmless, but for weak kidneys, peanuts can quietly become one of the most damaging habits of all. Thomas, 65, swore by his daily peanut butter sandwiches. He told me proudly, "Doctor, at least I'm avoiding junk food." But what he didn't know was that the truth was hiding between those 2 slices of bread. His creatinine kept rising and he couldn't understand why. Here's the reality. Just 1 ounce of peanuts carries around 187 milligrams of phosphorus and about 200 milligrams of potassium. For kidneys that can't filter properly, that's a toxic combination, stacking up fast, raising creatinine, and pushing GFR into dangerous territory. And the protein load, 7 grams per ounce. That means more nitrogenous waste, more pressure on already overworked kidneys. Unlike walnuts or macadamias, peanuts don't bring protective omega-3s. They leave inflammation unchecked, allowing oxidative stress to scar kidney tissue. Even worse, peanuts are prone to aflatoxins, dangerous toxins that grow in poorly stored nuts. Those toxins fuel oxidative stress, damage renal cells, and accelerate CKD progression without obvious symptoms until it's too late. And let's be honest, most people don't eat raw peanuts. They eat them roasted, salted, honey glazed, or as peanut butter loaded with sugar and sodium. Those extras spike blood pressure, worsen swelling, and raise albumin to creatinine ratios. Thomas thought he was protecting himself, but in reality, his healthy sandwiches were quietly pushing him toward dialysis. That's why, for anyone with kidney disease, the safest choice is to skip peanuts altogether. There are safer healing nuts out there, but peanuts are not one of them. They may look ordinary, but for fragile kidneys, they're a daily trap. And that's why knowing the good nuts from the bad is only half the battle, because the true key isn't just avoiding danger, it's about building a daily routine that lowers creatinine, protects GFR, and keeps you far from dialysis. Taking care of your kidneys is not about being perfect. It's about making small, consistent choices every single day. If you can avoid the 4 harmful nuts and focus on the 4 healing ones, you're already giving your kidneys the best chance to recover and stay strong. So I want to encourage you: don't feel overwhelmed, don't feel hopeless. Your kidneys are not doomed. Every step you take today adds up to protection for tomorrow. If this video helped you, save it so you can come back whenever you need a reminder. Share it with someone you care about, because the truth could save their kidneys too. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss the latest medical insights and practical tips on kidney health. Most importantly, remember this: the power to protect your kidneys is in your hands. With the right knowledge and steady habits, you can lower creatinine, protect your GFR, and live fully without fear of dialysis. And I'll be right here guiding you every step of the way.